two things. But I don't know if you ever looked at this, but Taylor Swift. And Taylor Swift is somebody who I always kind of put into the category of like they're way too big for me to even give a fuck about their career or their music at all. I don't know any Taylor Swift music, really, to be honest. Jay can chime in a bit here about the actual quality of it. But Taylor Swift, bro.
Jesus Christ.
She's like 50 million monthly listeners. But listen to this.
Jesus
so this is what I have wrote up
Christ.
before because I was looking at this. So Taylor Swift didn't own the rights to her master recordings.
That sucks.
She didn't own the. So this is the thing. So she didn't own the rights to her master recordings of her earlier work. The label she was signed to was called Big Machine, and she recorded her first 6 albums and released. And she had those big hits, Love Story, I don't know whatever the fuck, other songs.
And they tried to sell her rights to.
So this is what happened. So Big Machine. She was trying to get her masters back. She was willing to pay the amount that it costed for her to get the rights for them back. So moving forward, she can make the money off of her work that she signed over to them to make the money off of moving forward.
For years.
Like
for years.
Yeah. And then that company sold her masters to Scooter Braun's company, who Scooter Braun manages Justin Bieber, Kanye West, he did, Demi Lovato, all these people, like people I think in the industry that didn't have a good relationship with Taylor Swift. And then, so she had an issue with that because she was already trying to get her masters back. And then Scooter Braun was not cooperating with that at all. And that was like worst case scenario for her. So then she was trying to bid on getting them back from Scooter Braun. And then his company sent her an NDA basically saying, sign this NDA and you can bid with the other people that are trying to bid on the rights to your music. But in order for you to be able to get the opportunity to even bid on getting these masters back, you need to sign this non-disclosure agreement saying that you won't publicly say anything negative about Scooter Braun moving forward. Yeah, so she could sign and agree to never say in a legal contract, she could sign a legal contract agreeing to never negatively saying anything about Scooter Braun moving forward. To bid on something she might lose. And so she didn't do that, and then he sold it to this other company without even getting her permission, because she still owns a percentage of those masters, I believe, and the amount that it sold for was upwards of $300 million. That's how much her masters are worth. So now she's re-recording her albums that are under these that are owned by the masters, like these songs that are owned by this company now that bought it. She's re-recording those albums that consist of these songs and releasing them. So she just put a new one out that's like her first album or whatever, Fearless or whatever it's called. And in the last year, she put out 2 other albums of original material where she owns the masters and all that. And then she put out the first of many albums she's re-recording so she can own the masters of the same songs, the new versions. She actually broke a record for having the most #1 albums in the shortest span of time. It should be like the Beatles or something like that. But that's an interesting thing. So do you think that because of this, do you think that this is just business, or is Scooter Braun just a fucking cocksucker?
It is just business. It's actually in some ways parallel to the whole Jake Paul conversation that we were just having. But like I'm pretty sure at one point Michael Jackson owned like
the Beatles masters. Yeah, he did. He owned them.
And so
you can buy that shit. That's crazy.
This is you, just like fucking Ben Askren had his nest egg. This is you as a fucking incredibly rich person setting up your nest egg.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where it's like you own this, and now like Taylor Swift isn't going to be like, think about all the records from like the 30s, 40s that existed, right? And all of those rights went to public access probably by now. But
I think it's like 100 years. Or something.
Yeah, something like that. It's like 100 years. So let's say if it's 100 years, let's just say Taylor Swift has some solid records that are going to stand the test of time. So if you can own that for your life and half of your kid's life, that pays for a lot of stuff. So you're really like you're setting yourself up. It is very self-centered for sure, but it is a part of that business. Now, mind you,
the record label nowadays, music business is dirty.
It is dirty as fuck.
But you're playing the game,
like
bro.
You said, people are being more conscious of this.
Yeah.
And keeping
these stories will become less and less and less common over the next 10 to 15 years. 100%.
Yes, because you see
because motherfuckers
I
are not signing
chime in on this one though. Like this is part of the business. Like the music industry is evil. Like they have been since as long as the music industry has existed, they've been awful. But Taylor Swift signed that contract when she was 13 or 14. Mm-hmm. She was a child when she signed that contract. She had her first album, her self-titled album, already wrote by herself when she got signed by Big Machine.
Yeah.
which that album they own the masters to.
Yeah.
She primarily writes all of her songs.
Yeah.
She wanted to get her masters back. The Beatles masters, they were sold off. Like the Beatles had the right to their masters. They were sold. That was them selling their masters. So, but Taylor Swift has been actively trying to get them back. And
are you sure about that?
Oh yeah, Yoko Ono sold the masters to people, and then Michael Jackson. Paul McCartney has most of them back.
You ever listen to Yoko Ono's music?
Yeah, it's awful.
It's trash.
Yeah. It's
just her going.
It's bird. Yeah. No, that's better than Yoko Ono's music.
Oh, really? You do a cover of all Yoko Ono songs
dude,
and release it.
We'll watch it after this.
But to get back to this,
yeah.
Every time she tried to buy her masters back, Big Machine was like, "Yeah, you can get your masters back, but you'll get one album back for every album you release under us." And then when she had to,
is that the current agreement she's in right now? She signed with Republic.
No. This Republic deal was just her. She wanted to make new music, and she just didn't want to do it under Big Machine, so she went with Republic. And also, she made a deal with Republic that
his Big Machine, the owner left or something, I think.
Yes, the person that she signed with, Scott
Disick. I'm just joking. Isn't it the Kardashian?
It's
guy?
Scott something. Yeah, he left. But she tried to buy her music back, and every time, like even when
that's crazy, bro. If you have the money how would you not want to sell the artist who wrote those songs that made your company a shit ton of money, the rights to their music moving forward back? If you're willing to sell it and they have enough money to fucking buy it to satisfy you, that's
that NDA too. That wasn't just an NDA. That was an NDA, and he would still receive a bunch of money from this music.
Right.
Like, that was basically, you signed this NDA and still work with him. And she just wants nothing to do with him.
What I don't understand, and I don't know the fucking legalese that was involved in this contract, but when you look at, to compare in hip-hop, Lil Pump got signed for a bunch of money.
Yeah.
Right? Like $1 million or a couple $1 million when he first got signed, but he was under the age of 18. And then he pulled out of that deal legally because he was under the age of 18.
He did some smart shit, didn't he?
He pulled out of that deal because he was under the age of 18 when he signed the contract, and then re-signed with somebody else for like $10 million, and all he's been doing is smoking weed and tights.
And he's fucking bitches on OnlyFans.
Yeah.
Have you ever been curious to buy the Lil Pump OnlyFans? Because
No.
he's out here. I'm not, but I'm just like, is he actually out here like having sex on camera? Because he's a successful, well-known public figure. Like, anytime a public figure, artist, whatever, has a sex tape, that's like pretty, commonly
he has sex
shared.
tapes on the internet?
He started an I've seen it. Like, he
feel like
shares
he
it on
probably
his
just
Instagram.
smokes
It's
weed.
called like Pump's Playhouse, and he always has like a bunch of like porn stars and stuff like in his Instagram stories, and he's like, swipe up. So I would imagine the people that he is working with aren't scared to do that, and I'm sure he isn't, because he's just like desperate for any kind of relevancy and capitalizing on his audience and monetizing as much as he can. I haven't heard too much about it, but he's had enough success for that to be talked about. I've never dove into it, but
I don't think people really care about him. But
they don't at all.
What I am curious about is how someone's so goddamn stupid. So it must have been some very technical language.
But that's the thing with Taylor Swift signing off on this contract when she was 13, 14. It's not like they took advantage of a 14-year-old. She definitely still had her parents hire legal professionals to overlook this contract and see if it was in her best interest.
Well,
but at the same time, she probably doesn't have that much money, and the amount of money that she made, even if a small percentage, like she's not. This is the thing. Yes, she wants her masters back, and yes, they might be doing her dirty on the business aspect, even though it's still legal or whatever.
You still got that pen?
But did the camera go out? Did the camera go out? But it's like she signed off on the contract, which gave the rights for anything that has happened to her moving forward to be legally allowed to have happened. And she definitely, probably in the age that she became popular in, if she was independent and didn't sign to a major record label that had the marketing budget to be able to go and book her tours and radio features and get her music videos produced, get them pushed out to like MTV and whatever was going to promote her music at the time and put her on the radio, she wouldn't be the person she is today to have the opportunity to be able to work with songwriters and producers and manufacture albums to get them released and go number one and all this shit.
I'm curious about
to be in a position to have enough money to buy her masters back.
Yeah, but
it's like it goes both
ways.
The
issue isn't the initial contract. The issue is things that happened about that. Mm-hmm. Because she wanted to buy her masters, and she wanted to buy her masters basically from the point she found out what masters really were, and like what the consequences were, and she wasn't told about the sale when they were sold. all the meetings, all the phone calls.
She's not down bad, broke on the side of the street. Like she's living very.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know,
but
well.
the fact that they completely sold it under the table. The only time anyone that was close to her found out about this sale was her father was included with a lawyer on a call that was basically just dotting the I's and crossing the T's.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like they could do nothing at that point.
I actually heard about
so,
this a while
like
ago
literally she was like, I will give you anything you want except working with you because I just want to make my own music.
Yeah.
Because
she's in a position now. I mean, she is only 31. She has the platform. She can make as much music. She put out 2-3 albums in the last 265 days or whatever. Like, she broke a record going number one in this.
But she was working on a documentary, like her documentary, and they were like, nah, you can't use your music. So she couldn't use any of her recorded music for the documentary.
What I'm curious
is that the one that's on Netflix?
I think they came out with agreement, so I think it's back in it. But like originally they were like, yeah, no, you can't use your own music just because it's you.
Yeah.
And even live, there was like I think it was the Grammys she was going to perform, and they're like, no, you can't perform our songs.
But what I'm curious about is what was so specific, because what it comes down to is language and how you're literally using words in a contract. Mm-hmm. But what I'm confused about is I feel like maybe time has changed things, but I feel like Taylor Swift would have been less taken advantage of than somebody like Lil Pump.
No, she wasn't taken advantage of. That's where the issue
she
lies.
signed a contract. The contract was read by professionals that probably were hired in her best interest.
This contract is fine. But it's the fact that they underhand sold the masters when she was trying to buy them. Like, she's fine with the contract. She's fine that, like, she originally signed away the masters. Like, all of that is, like, whatever. That happened. She signed a bad contract. She's okay with that.
Yeah.
Right? It's the fact that she wanted to buy the masters, has the money to, offered to pay more than the masters were bought for, and they wouldn't sell them to her.
Yes, but
she just wants her music back, and they won't give it to her. Like, that's all it is.
But what I'm saying is, I'm sure that there was an agreement, and we can look this up. I'm not sure. I could be, again, talking to my ass. But I'm sure that Lil Pump agreed to give away his masters when he signed his major contract. Why was it so easy for him to reverse out of that and say, no, these are my masters because I was like 16 or 17 when I signed this contract?
Well, he fought that. She didn't fight this contract because she knew she signed a bad contract. So she didn't legally try to fight that contract.
She didn't try at all.
Well, she may have. I don't know. But she signed. But her parents signed that contract. That kind. Like, the other contract could have been worded differently. There could have been wording in it that, like, the contract could have been wrote differently, right?
That's what I'm wondering. Like,
yeah,
it comes down to legalese.
I would probably throw that at a technicality more than anything.
Yes.
Because the music industry does this a lot. Like,
so that's what I'm asking. Is, like, what is the difference where Lil Pump, somebody who probably had no thought process in signing his contract,
I would say he got lucky. He got lucky.
I gotta pee.
Like, what it is, all it is he got lucky. Because you hear this all the time. Like Michelle Branch, you must know who she is. She has like she was a pop artist in the 2000s. She has a whole album that's not released because she didn't want to change some songs. And this label was just like, okay, well, we're just not going to put it out then. And that music is just locked up. And if you really want to find out a lot about this, the Black Keys, watch any interview they do because they always start talking about the music industry. And how they just literally, it's all about them, and it's more about their egos. They could make more money if they put their egos aside and just let the artists do it, but they want to control everything.